I'm recording. What the fuck are those glasses?
Wow.
I just looked over and my podcast demon over there in her glasses. You look like a porno category, Katie. Welcome to the Sharp Tongue Podcast. With me, the very talented, beautiful, and always smiling Erik Rivera.
Thank you.
You like that?
I like the compliments up top.
Well, I just think that it describes you.
I have to call you more often.
You should call me. I'm very positive.
I know.
It's mainly fueled by coffee and weed, but
unless I'm wearing glasses, then you just come at me. But other than that, thank you.
If you're wearing glasses, I'd have nothing to say to you. What Katie, she just shook me today. I wish we had a camera on her. She really looks like you look like a Halloween costume. Are you going to dress up for Halloween?
We are. We're talking about that. Yeah, because I have kids, so it's a family affair. It's a family thing. Like last year, we were the Ghostbusters.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So me, my wife, and my 6-year-old had proton packs, the whole thing. And then the baby was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then the year before that, we were superheroes.
Which superheroes?
I was Superman. My oldest was Batman. The little guy was Robin. And then my wife was Wonder Woman, which made me laugh because I didn't realize how scantily clad all female superheroes are.
They're everything's sexy. Once I saw Sexy Baby, I was done with Halloween.
Yeah, because he was like, oh, let's dress up and go to my school. And my wife was like, all right, let's go look at costumes. She's like, I'm going to look slutty in all of these. I was like,
so are the teachers.
I was like, yep, yes, you are.
I guess that's just the woman's go-to is just slut it up.
Yeah.
Sexy shark.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sexy.
Yeah. Sexy AIDS needle.
Yeah.
If there's any disease that needs to be sexed up,
of course.
it's AIDS.
So I think this year we're doing Harry Potter. I think that's what my oldest, because he picks the costume. It's him.
Who's going to be Harry Potter?
He is, of course.
Yeah, little bastard.
Yeah, he gets the good costume.
And so who are you going to be? You got to be the dude with no nose. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Voldemort.
Yeah. I love that dude.
Okay.
I like that flat face. Something about it is neat to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're not selling this. He's got no nose, flat face. You got to be him.
I know. Well, I like either a really strong beak or a flat face.
Okay.
Yeah. Just from like an aesthetic standpoint.
So.
A nice either flat profile or you got a good beak. It looks like you can sniff out crime.
Those are two extremes. There's nothing in between with you.
No, there's nothing. It's
giant schnoz or nothing. Nothing in between. All right.
Are you guys gonna go trick or treating?
Of course. Yeah. We used to come to the west side of Santa Monica.
Is that where the good candy is? Yeah. We got the good candy.
If you go to like Montana and 16th, they have they legit go all out.
They get the big sizes.
They get the big sizes. People, because they work in the industry, go all out with their houses, decorating them.
Do you remember that as a kid? Like you'd go to the house where the lady, I don't know if you ever had this, but when I was a kid, there was a lady who used to wrap up individual packages of 5 cents.
No.
So she would.
Where'd you trick or treat?
Down in Skid Row. No, it was in upstate New York. Mm-hmm. And it was on Burdick Ave on the north side of Syracuse, New York. And this woman would tinfoil wrap 5 pennies. And she wrapped like a couple hundred of them. And she used to hand them out to the kids.
And then the kids come back and just chuck them at her house?
Yes. We would chuck them at her.
You should have. That's awful.
Isn't that weird?
5 pennies?
5 pennies.
No. Me and my mom, so my mom would take us to, we lived in New Rochelle. We would drive up to Greenwich. Because the way she put it is the white people had the nice candy.
Yeah.
The good houses had the nice candy.
Yeah, they get the big candy bars.
We'd run around and get the good candy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want Fix. You want Twix.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want that bootleg candy.
You can't get bootleg candy.
No.
You don't want dollar store candy. You don't want Twickers.
Yeah.
You want
the 2 Musketeers. They couldn't afford the third one.
So 2 Musketeers. Yeah.
There's only one.
Blow me pops, and it's just a guy with his dick out. It's not even a real candy. It's just some dude you have to blow.
Yeah.
That made me laugh way too hard.
Yeah. So we would get the good candy, but then one year she was working, and she couldn't take me trick or treating, so my dad took me trick or treating.
Was that bad?
This was bad because my dad, like that wasn't his thing, and my dad drank a lot, so he ended
He
up.
sounds like a great trick or
He
treating
ended
partner.
up taking me to bars. I ended up bar hopping with my dad, and the bars would give me money.
That's
and
great.
and just if they had like beer nuts and stuff so I had a bag full of like cash, like legit dollar bills and stuff, and like beer nuts and pretzels. My mom was so pissed. Like, what the hell?
You came back smelling like cigarettes.
Yeah,
You're
and
tipsy.
He was like, he had a great Halloween. I made like $60. I was like, this is the best Halloween ever. I made cash.
Why would your mom just let your dad take you? Didn't she know what the situation was?
Well, because she had to work, and she usually did it. Like, she would
Yeah.
dress up and take me trick-or-treating, and we'd have fun and candy and stuff.
Yeah.
But that year she had to work, so she was like, hey, don't mess this up. You got to take them. And he's like, all right.
It's like, we're going to the bar, kid.
And I
I don't know why your dad sounds like that in my head. Just the fact that he drinks. Well, let's go. We're going to Shifty's.
Yeah.
What was the name of the bar?
There was different bars. It was like Shooters. There was a place called
Shooters.
Piero's. It was like all these goofy little bars. But I think we went to one house, and he was just like, oh, I'm not doing this. And he was like, hey, let's go over here. And he took me and made cash.
What was your dad's name?
Peter.
Peter.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, this is our dead dad special.
Yeah,
you're
I
the,
saw
you're
it.
the first
I saw you tweeted it. I was like,
dead dad trilogy special.
it's a trilogy.
Because it's my father's birthday today.
Oh.
It's his first birthday with him being dead.
Yeah.
And your father's been passed for
It's coming up on 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And so do you remember the first birthday without him, yours and his birthday?
I remember his because my mom called me, and it was like the sad, like, how you doing? I'm okay. And I was like, oh, boy.
It was your mom?
Yeah, she was just like broken up
You
about
said,
it.
"Oh,
Yeah.
boy."
Yeah, because it was like, I was like, you need to get out. I was trying to get her to do stuff and not just, it's hard because you want to sit down and like sort of dwell in it.
Yeah, you want it, which is okay to do.
Which is
I
okay to
think.
do, yeah. But it's also hard because like my mom was that person that'll just keep like, I'm gonna dwell in it, and on top of it, you know what? I'm gonna go through a photo album. It's like, no, like don't do this to yourself. Like she likes to double down.
Yeah, she likes to double down on the grief.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay in his clothes and look at a photo album. It's like, why? Stop. You can listen. You can remember him, but don't start adding more to it.
I'm in his flannel, hon.
Yeah.
And we're looking at photos.
Yeah. and I'm smelling his favorite drink, and like, stop. You gotta go. You gotta go out and do something.
What for you, like, what helped you deal with his first birthday with him not being around, or was it not that difficult for you?
It was. I go back and forth because me and him didn't have like we had a good relationship, but it was like tricky because in the beginning, like, so me and my sister have two. It was two separate dads. It was like before. You know,
The same dad, but you had two eras.
It's 2 eras. So it's like
Two Peter
it's like
two Peter eras.
pre-church and
Oh
post-church.
man,
So
you
like,
got post-church dad.
I got pre-church.
Oh, you
'cause
did?
I got alcoholic dad. I got abusive dad. I got I'm gonna hit you with a belt dad.
Wow,
And my
fun dad.
Yeah, and my I got volatile dad. Like I remember him. Like that's the dad I got, and then my little sister got. I've been saved and.
Total
Non-violent
180.
dad, and mom runs the house kind of dad now.
My sister got non-violent
Yeah,
dad.
she got. I'm gonna go out and save the world, dad.
Coming to NBC this fall.
Yeah, good dad.
Non-violent dad.
That's who she got. So,
Oh man, did you resent her for that?
no, it's not her fault. But
Well, it is. This is what this podcast is about, and
But-
it's about your sister's fault.
it's all her fault. But no, it's funny because we do sit down and talk about dad, and it's like, oh yeah, no, dad, that's not who he was. He did this stuff. And
That's so wild. Because
Yeah.
what's the age difference between you and your sister?
we're 9 years apart.
So you two totally different experiences growing up.
Yeah.
And your mother, was she the consistent factor in your life? Was she non-wavering, or did she also have BJ and AJ, which is before Jesus and
Yeah,
after
I'm
Jesus?
BJ mom. BJ mom. No, she was pretty consistent. Like the one thing I do remember about her, and I hope my sister doesn't hear this because I don't think she even knows. Like I remember my mom.
She's actually on a live feed
Yeah,
right now. This
she's
is
in
all
the
for
other
her.
room. My mom used to smoke cigarettes. That's like the most I ever remember my mother doing. Like for the most part, she didn't go out and party like my dad did. She didn't go out and bar
Wow.
hop. But like I do remember her smoking cigarettes. And then she got pregnant with my little sister, and then she just quit, and that was it.
Wow.
Like that was the worst thing I ever saw
My
my
mom
mother do.
started when she got pregnant with me. Sorry, Nance.
Yeah.
She's like, oh yeah, I used to smoke all the time when you were in there growing. Oh great, cool.
Yeah, back then it was healthy to do
Yeah,
that.
they like prescribed it. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm stressed. I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Take a cigarette. Take a cigarette in the morning
Yeah.
and 2 in the afternoon.
It helps with the growth.
Yeah, it helps
Yeah.
with the growth for sure. It'll help you deal with the pain.
Right.
Well, that's good that you had your mom who was, pretty. It sounds like she had a straight head on her shoulders, and she
Yeah.
stayed with your dad through his alcoholism.
There was a moment they almost split, and then that I remember that too. Like, so it's always funny. Like when me and my sister sit down and remember Dad, it's like, oh, you don't remember that stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
I do.
What was the moment where they almost split? What was the last straw for your mom?
So I was in second grade, and my dad's drinking just got out of control, as it always does. Like as much as you try to hide it and try to keep it under wraps, it doesn't. It gets out, and he was just with work and at home and like always just drunk all the time. And my mom I think she had bailed him out of jail a couple times.
Oh.
And it was one of those things where I think she just had enough, and she was like, hey, we're either fixing this or I'm out. And then, for a while we were alone. He lived on the other side of town. He had his own little studio apartment where like a bunch of just sad dads lived.
Sad dads lived in
it was
studio
like a
apartments.
sad dad complex.
It's like a residence inn.
Yeah.
Sad dad complex. Also coming out on NBC. this
Sad
fall.
dads. And then a couple weeks later, he just showed up, and he was just like ultra religious.
Oh, whoa.
And my mother and I were just like at first it's like that New York thing where you're like, this is a scam.
You're like, wait a minute, something smells off.
Yeah, something's not right.
Yeah.
But that's who he was. And then after that, it was just like he wouldn't even, if it was like a drop of alcohol. Like I remember New Year's Eve things, like he wouldn't drink the champagne. It was
Nothing.
Nothing.
He was sober after that. Was it
that.
something he discovered through the 12-step program? Was it even linked to AA?
I don't think he went to AA. I think it
Wow.
was just extreme Christianity. Yeah, like he just dove in head first, and that was it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I do know on that 12-step program that people debate that it's replacing the addiction with religion.
Right.
But I mean, I think God is probably better than a crack pipe
Right. No, of course.
for the most part.
How's that not a T-shirt? God is better than a crack pipe. How is that?
Religious science with Jessimae. God's got to be better than a crack pipe, right? And then it must have been strange. Like, did a part of you miss your drunk dad?
Well, I will say drunk dad
coming out on
was-
NBC.
was fun because he would do stuff that I was just like, what? Like, I remember there was times, like, at one time he got pulled over by the cops for driving. He wasn't drunk at the time, but the cop gave him a ticket for something. And I just remember my dad ripping the ticket up in front of him, tossing it out the window, and the dude was like, what are you doing?
That's kind of great.
Wrote him another ticket. He goes, hey, man, you ripped this one up, throw it out. I'm going to arrest you. And my dad ripped it up and threw it on the dashboard. And the guy was like, get out of the car. He goes, no. You said if I threw it out the window, have a good one. And he took off. And I was just like, oh, my dad's badass. Dad is badass. And then
You were in the car?
I was in the car. And
How
I
old were
witnessed the
you?
whole thing. I was like maybe 9.
Wow.
Yeah. And
And did the cop follow you?
no.
Whoa.
My dad just punked him out right there. And I was
That's
just like,
amazing.
Dad's bad.
Yeah.
Like, he's so cool.
That's badass.
And then after found Jesus, it was a totally different dad. Just
Wow.
very law-abiding and never spoke back. And I was like, oh, okay.
Were you able to? Did your relationship with him change after your father found religion?
A little. It did. It changed a lot. Like, for the longest time, I remember wanting to be like my dad. And then once he found religion and he sort of changed, it was kind of a weird. Like, that's why I say, like, me and him, our relationship was weird. It was like, I loved him, but it was on the back end, it was hard because I don't want to say I lost respect for him because that's such a weird thing to say, but
You can say that.
we didn't really get along as much.
Right.
Because a lot of it, too, is like, I always got upset with him because you watch those movies and there's always that scene with the dad and the son bond and there's that like, hey
that
son,
great moment.
those great moments. And I never got that great moment of even like when talking about like when you asked me like, oh, what changed, and I was like, oh, my mom I think bailed him out of church. I don't know the full story of his past, and he never cared to share it with me.
Like there must have been some sort of catalyst, a driving force, or a reason for his addiction.
Yeah,
and his alcoholism.
And
you don't know that.
There's a lot of stuff about his life that I have bits and pieces of. Like I know his father left the picture at some point.
Right.
I don't know at what age. I don't know how that affected him because he never shared that with me. Because he grew up in the time of you don't share your feelings or emotions.
My dad did too.
Which is hilarious because what we do for a living, like
we talk
verbal
too much.
diarrhea, blah, I'm gonna tell you everything, and that's how I am with my kids. I'm like, you're gonna know everything, and then you look back and you're like, wait, why didn't my dad tell me anything?
Yeah, my dad told me nothing.
So like, yeah, I know bits and pieces. Like I know his dad split the picture and might or might not be alive to this day. I don't know.
Your grandfather?
My actual grandfather. Like, so
he may be alive.
He might be. I don't know.
Well, here he is.
He's 91 years old.
He just comes strolling in.
Throughout my life, I had guys showing up to my house that claimed to be my uncles because my grandfather kept spreading his seed in Puerto Rico. So guys would show up to the house like, I'm your uncle.
Spreading his seed in
apparently
Puerto Rico.
He had...
High memoir title.
Yeah, apparently he had countless wives and kids.
Oh, my God.
So they would pop up. So there's
literally
there's a lot I don't know about my dad's life. Like I know, I know he had trouble with the law. I don't know how many times he was arrested. I know there was hardcore drugs he did, but that's through cousins going, oh, nah, never mind. I'm not going to tell you. And it's like, I'd kind of like to know that story.
Well, it would give you some sort of leverage and an understanding.
Yeah.
For, his decisions and how his life went in the direction it went and then why he found religion.
Yeah. And even towards the end, like, I remember when he was in hospice, like, I sat with him and, like, hey, man, I'd love to know you. I'd love to know something about you.
You said that to him.
I told him. I had that moment for myself of going, I'd love to know more about you. I'd love to know more about your life. I know a relationship hasn't been the greatest because, now I'm dealing with this crossroads of I know our time is over, but I still don't know you, and I'd love to.
That's so wild.
And it was just one of those things where even that, he was just like,
He didn't share anything even in that moment.
No. Because
what did that feel like? What did that do to you?
For me, like for the longest time, I was angry because I didn't know him. Like even talking to my mother, because once you get to that, you're the back end of it. You know it's happening. My mom started setting up arrangements for funeral and whatnot.
Right. And he was sick with Parkinson's?
Sick with Parkinson's. And
what age did he pass?
3 years ago, he was like 67.
Right.
Yeah.
So pretty young.
Yeah. So, and I remember my mother going, hey, I'd love for you to do the eulogy.
You?
Yeah. And I remember sitting there and just, that's when it all started. That's when I started really getting angry because it's like, I don't know this guy. Like,
wow. And it's your dad.
I know the guy that raised me. I know him as that role, but I don't know him. Like I don't know what got him up in the morning every morning. I don't know what made him tick. I don't know what made him do the things he did. And it was one of those things I wanted to know.
It's your father. You're the son.
Curious.
There's a unique bond.
I know my mother's
have.
story.
Yeah.
I know she came over at 19 and like what got her going and what keeps her going. But my father, I was like, I don't really know you now, and I'd like to know you. So me being able to tell him that for me was a weight off my shoulders because I was like, at least I know it's not on me.
Yeah, and you know that you made the attempt and that you're capable of putting yourself in that position with somebody you love to make that connection.
Yeah.
And almost in his non-response, you've gotten an answer.
Right.
That his inability to communicate, or what was his inability to communicate, was probably a big factor in how he got himself into addiction and his standoff. Was he standoffish from you guys? Was he like?
He was just quiet. Like I remember when my wife first met him, I warned her. Like I always like anytime I brought a girl over, I'd warn them like, "Hey, listen, you're gonna sit next to my dad. He's not gonna say a thing to you.
Nothing. He wouldn't ask anything.
He'll just sit there and not say anything. And I'm like, and you're gonna leave going, I don't think he liked me, but he did because he sat there. Like,
Wow.
if he talks to you, that's great. But if he doesn't, don't take offense to it, because that's just who he is. And sure enough, he would sit there sometimes and not say a word.
Wow.
Once in a while, he'd start breaking open in like little jokes here and there. Like that was his thing. And then just quiet. Like that's who he was. He was
So
just
no
very,
inquiries, no questions.
No, he wasn't chatty. He wasn't like, hey, so where you from? Oh, this weather. Like that was never him. He was always just this quiet guy. And the more you got around him, then he'd start cracking jokes here and there, and
Right.
saying little things, but never a full. Like you would never leave. Like, man, that guy talked my ear off.
Well, even jokes are sort of a deflection from connection almost.
Yeah.
Because it's still a layer. It's
Yeah.
still a protective layer.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really, you're not divulging anything,
Right.
and you're not inquiring anything.
Yeah.
You're just leaving something in the middle for everyone. You're
Right.
not really, there's not an exchange really going on.
Yeah. No.
My dad used to talk to everyone.
See, I would have loved that, because then I would have gotten something.
You couldn't get shit done. This dude would talk to so where are you from? How you doing, sweetheart? He'd flirt with everybody, first of all. He called boobs kajoggers. I don't understand it.
Great one. Kajoggers?
Kajoggers.
How do you spell that with a
I'm
C or
not
K?
sure. I think it's just a bunch of noises. I don't even think there's letters to describe it. He would spot boobs when we were driving from like miles away. Like he had like a eagle's eye for tit. And he'd go, and just under his breath, just totally forgetting that I'm in the car. Oh, look at those kajoggers. It's like, Dad, that's someone's mother. That is someone's daughter. Like, what are you
admiring? He's a connoisseur.
He
A
was.
Kajaga connoisseur.
God, he was insatiable for women. I remember one of the last times him and I had lunch together when he was in his memory care facility, and it was a feat to get him out to go to lunch. Mm-hmm. Because of physical struggles, mental struggles, because he had Alzheimer's, and you know that because we've talked about this before. But it felt so good to get him out to this lunch spot that we went to. He wanted Italian. That was the only thing that he wanted to eat ever. Right. There was no other cuisine in his mind. It was either like steak or Italian. Those were the two options. And so we eat, and we sit down, and the waitress comes over. Okay, this is like the first person we're seeing in this restaurant. I get him seated, and she comes over, and she's like, well, what can I get you? And he goes, well, I'll take you. He's like 81 years old.
Love it.
Just, he's riddled with Alzheimer's. Yeah. The dude can barely sit still because he's in so much like discomfort, and he's still flirting with the fucking waitress who's like 50 years younger than him. He's still thinking he's got a shot.
That's awesome.
It was just, and then like on the way out, there's this like older woman, and he's like, oh, hey, pretty good looking. You're good. How you doing? I'm like, Dad, it's just like no woman left behind.
You got to shoot your shot. You got to.
So that was my dad spoke to everybody, but it was flirting with all the women.
Yeah. See, I would have taken that. Like my dad, like I remember towards the end, we would have phone call conversations. And the phone call conversation was the same every time. Like my wife was like, oh, your dad called? Yeah. What'd you guys talk about? We talked about the Knicks, talked about the weather. And then he said, I'm going to go get your mom.
Really?
That was it.
How long were the conversations?
Not long. He hated being on the phone. He was not that guy. Like, his mother, when she was alive, would call the house from Puerto Rico. He'd talk to her maybe 2 minutes, and then he'd be like, hold on, the kids want to say hi to you. And me and my sister like, we don't want to say hi to this woman. We don't want to talk to her. Why would you put her on the phone? It was 2 minutes. He barely spoke.
And how has it affected you that you feel that you haven't had this connection with your father? How do you think it's changed your life?
I think, well, number one, with my kids, I'm doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I'm over the top. My wife's always like, all right, you got to take it down a notch.
Like how?
Because like I'm just overly affectionate with them. I'm like overly, like I talk to them, and like my son at 6 knows more than he should know.
Is he
like,
expressive and emotional?
Yeah.
I love when boys are like are taught and encouraged to access their emotions. Oh yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, like I just
less serial killers in the world.
I just went on the road, and when I come home, like both of them tell me they miss me and like big hugs, and I'm like, yeah, because like I didn't have that, so I'm like, we're gonna do that.
Absolutely. Especially, I think it's so important to instill that in boys. Mm-hmm. I feel like society, whatever your dad experienced to influence him enough to have addiction issues, society plays a role in that.
Right.
I especially where your father's from and where he grew up.
Right.
Like that's, that influences his sentimentalities as well, and how he treats people, how he treats himself. But I feel like society just basically teaches men that if you're accessing your emotions or crying, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
And that it's a negative
I
thing.
still have uncles that, like, they'll see me with my kids, like, oh, so you raising them gay? And they're like, what? How is that? Because he loves his dad, because I love him, that's gay? Like, it's just that old school mentality.
So
like, yeah, that's what you're doing? Like, what? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly what I'm talking about. It's just so, and luckily I feel like that mentality is, depleting.
Yeah.
A little.
It is.
We want men
getting
sensitive. I've tried to turn this into a bit, and I've put it into a bit. Like, we want you guys to cry, but just not while you're inside of us.
Right.
Like,
somebody's crying inside of you? Because all bits come from truth. Jessimae, is somebody crying? That's a weird, yeah. No, then don't cry inside of someone. That's...
Memoir title number 2. Don't cry inside
Don't cry inside of us.
And have you experienced or noticed any negative effects from the lack of connection with your father?
For me?
Yeah. Or do you see something in yourself that you just don't like, or it reminds you of him? Or
Well, I know I worked on myself a lot.
How so?
Well, with my wife, like when we first got married, it was a little rocky, just because my father and my mother, like they're always your example for anything, for relationships, and people don't realize that until they start getting into relationships, and you hear the same, like, we broke up, she's crazy. I'm like, no, you're sort of attracting something, or you're doing something.
Exactly.
But we don't realize we're repeating certain patterns.
Mm-hmm.
So when I got married with my wife, we were having, we were a little rocky, and it took her to go, hey, you're not communicating with me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what do you talk about? I communicate. She goes, no. Like, these issues you have are in your head because you're not telling me how you really feel about certain things.
Yep.
So we're having this trouble. So then going to see somebody to go, oh, that's why my mom and dad always fought, because he didn't talk.
Therapy is so deep.
I don't talk.
Yes.
I think I'm talking, but I'm not.
Right. You think you're communicating, but you're not. You're communicating with the tools that you've been taught to communicate with.
Yeah.
Which are like missing 15 essential tools for communication.
Right.
That's most people.
But that's why, like, it's so funny. Like, we have a lot of male comedian friends, and you hear them talk, and like, I can't believe this chick doesn't understand that comedy's my, and I was like, but did you tell her that?
Yeah, did you explain?
Well, when she met me, I was like, no, but
no.
Did you? Because women are great at communicating when they get into a relationship. Like, this is what I expect out of you. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
And dudes don't do that, and instead go, oh, how does she not know?
She should know.
She should know. Yeah.
I mean, I did this. Doesn't it mean that? It's like, no, we need clear, concise communication.
Yeah, and guys are awful at it, but because
terrible at
we've learned from our dads who don't
they're just shut down.
They just shut down, go to work, and then even like they learn from their dads. They come home,
don't
and
then
talk.
Take you trick or treating to the bar.
Yeah, take you trick or treating to the bar. So that's what you learned. So when I got married, I was like, oh, I had to learn that. And even still now, like, I'm not saying I'm the greatest at it, but there are moments where, like, my wife was like, hey, you didn't tell me that. I'm like, my fault. I say
that. I have tried to have that conversation with my boyfriend where I'm like, you think you said this, or you think you communicated this, but this is what you said.
Yeah.
That's not communicating to me what you really meant to communicate. And like women, like you said, I over communicate.
Right.
Like, I'm literally communicating what I'm feeling in my ovaries sometimes. Like, just on a physical level. It's too much.
Yeah.
But I can't help myself. Nature has just given me all of these communication tools, and we have to use them. We're the ones who grow and raise children. We have to be able to communicate on multiple levels.
I love that you have a whole spread of tools. We have hammer. Like, I don't know why this isn't working.
You guys have
I hammered. I don't know what happened.
I don't know why she doesn't understand me. And we're like, why don't you understand me? And it's like, if you look at it from that standpoint, if people who are in relationships and they have struggles with communication, if you look at it as a man coming to a conversation with a hammer, and a woman comes to a conversation with every tool you can. There's a hammer, there's a spatula, you got a broom, Swiffer, Roomba, you got like a some sort of wand. You got
I love your lack of tools because you went from hammer to Swiffer. Swiffer, there's a Roomba. It was screwdrivers, wrenches. Jessimae knew none of those.
I don't know any tools. Hacksaw.
There's napkins. What?
Napkins? Did you say napkins?
Yeah, you legit went from tool to like cleaning stuff.
As you can tell, I'm pretty handy in the tool department. We got hacksaws, we got drills, hammers, measuring tape.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, it's because we see our parents and we don't know or we don't care to try to expand because it's like, oh,
it's scary.
It is
because it forces you to change. Like you have to change.
Right.
It forces you to realize that the way you've been doing something hasn't been working.
Right.
And nobody wants to think or feel that they're failing.
Yeah. Or to even learn how you like females communicate is it's intriguing. Because as a man, you don't realize, like, so we sat down, we had a therapist for a while that helped us, taught me how to communicate to her and actually listen to her, which is like anytime a female says something to a dude's mindset, because he's seen it from his parents, go, oh, I got to fix this right now.
Yep.
And there was times where like the therapist was like, no, she just wants you to listen to her. It's like,
yes.
But I can fix it with my hammer. It's like,
hammer.
No, you can't. This is how she feels. She just wants you to hear her.
Yeah, sometimes we don't need anything.
Yeah, but dudes are like, but I got the. You don't want me to hammer that? I can fix it. It's like, no. But so that I attribute to my father. Was like where I saw him and those mistakes. I'm like, oh, I need to fix that. Or even the reason why I do stand up today is because I saw him. I remember him getting together with my uncles, and they would, have drinks, and it was always that conversation of, oh, I could have done this in my life if I had just A, B, and C.
Yep.
So when it came to comedy for me, like I really fell in love with comedy, and I remember in college going, oh, I'm going to stop going to college because I need to really see if I can do this.
Yeah.
Because even now to this day, like I look at my kids and I go, I never want them to look back and go, oh, Dad quit, so why should I have to do this?
Right, because you're teaching them that.
Instead they're gonna go, oh, Dad, he went all in, and he either failed or succeeded. Like, but he knows whether he had it or not.
Yeah, And for you, like doing stand up, because you were doing stand up before your father got sick.
Yeah,
and with a disease like Parkinson's, it's similar to Alzheimer's, where you essentially. You kind of have to grieve them while they're alive.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's not like it was sudden. Like anytime I talk about them, people, oh, we're so sorry for your loss. Like, no, it was a 15-year process.
Yeah.
We saw it happening.
Yeah.
We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It's not easy still, but it's like I almost wished it would happen in his sleep, and we didn't. Oh, what happened? We don't know.
Yeah.
Instead, we had to. Like you said, like you're grieving for that period of time. Which
you're
sucks.
grieving for that period of time, and what sort of what helped you speaking of grieving, I think I might have to murder my dog. Do you want to say any last final words for him?
At the end is in memory of
Carlin Peluso. Carlin, stop. Do you see how I didn't stop anything, Katie? I didn't pause anything. She yells at me when I pause stuff. She's like, I can edit. Just fucking don't touch any of the recording. Carlin.
Or there's going to be bonus footage.
Stop. This will be bonus footage. We'll put this in at the end. Are you fucking done? Watch when I start talking again. He's going to bark.
I love that you yelled at him like a 50s dad. Is it out of your system?
Yeah. I'm like, are you done now? You sure you got it all out? One of the things that I have sort of realized about myself in the whole grieving process is I have over and over done certain things to help me deal with the grief.
Right.
Like smoking weed. Mm-hmm. I enjoy getting high and going on hikes.
Okay.
So exercise. Eating healthy has sort of kept me, on the straight and narrow, and creating things like, being creative and staying active in comedy and all of that But for you, like when you were going through grieving your father while he was still alive, what were some things that you did to sort of deal with that?
Well, I did. Stand up was definitely a big help because we get to go up on stage and sort of like just release whatever that stress is, and that laughter sort of serves as that endorphin and helps you get through stuff. But I did the same thing where, in the sense of like I started eating healthy and started taking better care of myself because, when with Parkinson's, there are studies that it can be genetic, which
It's
freak me out,
terrifying.
which terrifies
No
me.
one wants that test.
Yeah.
Please don't give us any sort of test. Same with Alzheimer's. Like, I don't want to know.
Yeah, but then there's also studies that show, trauma to the head. That's why a lot of boxers get it.
Yep.
And then alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
So my father was a big alcoholic, and even towards the end, and this is where some of the resent and anger come from, he didn't really take care of himself. Like
He sort of just let it go.
he let it happen. So
That's really frustrating.
he stopped working, even though his work knew he was sick. They were like, he can keep coming in. There's always going to be a job for him here. But for
Right.
him, it was like, I don't want to be out in public. Woe is me.
Mm-hmm.
He threw himself a pity party, stopped working,
Ugh.
and then once that happened, it happened a lot faster.
Right, because it's almost like his will
Yeah.
to live or just fight or to anything, he gave up.
Yeah.
And there's so much to say for, our mental strength and how it can help us persevere through
Right.
hard times.
Like I look at somebody, like I remember about the time when he was talking about quitting his job, HBO had a documentary came out on Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach has Parkinson's.
Who's Freddie Roach?
Freddie Roach.
Sounds like a something like how my dad would describe Spanish people.
It's Freddie Roach over here.
Here comes another Freddie Roach.
Freddie Roach.
My bigot father.
He's actually here in L.A. in West Hollywood. He's got a boxing gym, Wild Card Boxing.
Okay.
He trains Manny Pacquiao. He
Wow.
trains a ton of different boxers. He's had Parkinson's for a long time. I
It's
don't
such
know
a slow burn of a disease.
I don't know the time range of it, but for him, he talks about how he battles with himself to get out of bed.
Oof.
So I remember watching this documentary. This guy gets up every morning, 2-3 mile walk just to get his coffee because that forces him to keep moving. 2-3 mile walk back. He still trains boxers to this day.
Wow.
Puts on the pads and works out with them because for him, he knows if I stop this, it'll get worse faster.
Yes.
You know?
You have to fight.
So for me, it was one of those things. It was like, why aren't you fighting this? Like I was like, what? I'll get you a gym membership. We'll go to the gym together. Oh, I can't do all the machines. I was like, nobody does all the machines. Even I have the gym membership.
Yeah.
I don't even.
People
touch
who
all
are on the machines aren't even doing them
yeah.
right.
I was like, just come out, just walk on the treadmill. Let's just do something. And for him, he didn't do that. So then I started actively going, okay, I'm going to take good care of myself. I'm going to start running. I'm going to start working out. Because again, and now even more so because I got the kids, I don't want them to ever like, dad's a mess.
Yeah.
You know, so
Because you're teaching them that you can just, give up and this is an option.
Yeah, it's an
You're
option.
teaching them that giving up is an option.
So it took better care of myself, started eating better, even going on the road, avoiding fast foods, going to buy food, putting it in the room.
Yep.
Just those little things and, traveling more because my father's biggest thing was he always wanted to travel, but never went anywhere.
Did he ever say where he wanted to go?
His big place to go was Hawaii. He always like, I want to go to Hawaii. Heard
Have you
it's
been?
beautiful. I've been 3 times.
Wow.
Because for me, I was like, why not go? Like,
Yep.
life's not promised. I could tomorrow.
And it's a great way to turn it's a great way to continue your relationship with your dad.
Yeah.
By sort of implementing things that he wanted to do or changing your life so that you don't go down the same path.
Right.
Even though it's like, a deviation, you're still connected to him through that.
Yeah.
Through those processes.
And don't get me wrong, that first Hawaii trip, it was ugly crying on the beach. I'm sure people were like, what is wrong with this guy?
Was he already passed?
Yeah, he had already passed. And I was just like, it was awful.
How soon did you go to Hawaii after he had passed?
It was maybe the following year. We went
Wow.
to Maui, and it was gorgeous. And I was like, it's beautiful. And then just looking out to the water, it all hit, and I was like, why did I do this to myself?
Were you with your wife?
Yeah.
Your family?
Yeah, I was with my wife.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my mother out there this upcoming year. Like, get her plane ticket.
Right.
Because we were waiting till the little one was old enough he could do stuff. And
That's cathartic, though.
yeah.
You gotta ugly cry.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the other thing about dudes And I feel like where you guys are, it's an unfair advantage for women when it comes to grief is society expects women to cry in line at the grocery store.
Right.
You dudes just look like pussies to a lot of people. That's like the stigma in society, which is just so ridiculous. Every single person, for the most part, we're born crying.
Right.
That's one of the first noises we make.
Yeah.
So I just think it's so peculiar that when it happens as an adult, which, hello, we have more shit to cry about.
Right.
Bills, our inability to pay.
Yeah.
We can't do this because you got to work or someone gets sick. I mean, every day there's a new reason to cry as an adult, but society's like, shh, you keep that shit at home. No, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it out in this goddamn Marshall's fitting room if I fucking want to, Cheryl. Now go get me a small. Because my dad is dead.
He would have wanted it. What's wrong with her?
I have a really tough question. It may be rude, but I love you.
No, go ahead.
Do you think that because of your quote unquote lack of depth within your relationship with your father, it was easier dealing with him passing and easier dealing with him with the illness because it wasn't a huge bond?
I think it helped. I think what also helped was I kicked into I have to take care of my mother mode. So I didn't I saw how much of a mess she was when it happened, and she went through a lot. Like my mother, 15 years taking care of my father, just through it all, and that's
caregiving is so people don't understand unless you've done it. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I really want to make this point because I went through it as well, just on a small scale. My sister went through it on an enormous scale, and your mother. Being a caretaker is a career is such an honorable job because it's literally you're not doing it. It's a thankless job.
Yeah.
People are doing it usually because they really care about people. And then you throw in the factor that it's someone you love, like your mother taking care of your father. Nobody knows the emotional toll that takes on a human unless you've done it. It is one of the hardest things you can do, and it breaks so many people financially and emotionally.
Right. So now I'm going to double down on this. My mother had to go through that with her father.
Oh.
He had Parkinson's as well.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So
I want to hug your
mom. So this is how bad it was. When my father got sick, I remember I talked to her, and I remember my father's brother, my uncle, talked to her, and we both sat her down and we're like, listen, if you want to go, no one's gonna judge you, no one's gonna be upset, no one's gonna hold it against you. We get it. Because she had just gone, she'd done it with her father.
If she didn't want to, you guys would have understood.
We would have understood. If you want to put him somewhere in a facility, no one's going to be mad at you. Because her thing was she felt guilty and everyone's going to hate me. I was like, no, you had to do it with your father. Now you're doubling down. Not to mention,
how many years with her father?
It was about 15, same year.
Your mother's a saint. She's a fucking saint.
Yeah. So, and then on top of it, now it's your husband who you love and who doesn't communicate and tell you.
Yeah, who you really don't know.
Yeah.
Who doesn't say it.
He's not going to give you that thank you at the end. He's just going to.
Who took your kid to Scooters on Halloween and got him drunk.
So, for me, once he passed, it's a long time coming, and you're he's finally at peace. Towards the end, he started getting bouts of dementia, and you could tell his body's shutting down, and it's not enjoyable.
It's a brutal thing to watch.
It is. So you're oh, now he's in a better place, and I guess since we didn't have that bond, it didn't really break me as much as my little sister, who him and her
had that different relationship. She knew him on a different level.
So I kick into, I got to take care of them right now because they're a mess, and I have to help, communicate. Because even during the funeral, I remember I was the guy telling people where to go, and because they couldn't
what are you on the tarmac? You're
just over there. So, but anytime anyone even asked my mother a question, she'd just start hysterically crying.
Yeah.
No matter what, it was oh, good night. And what about this weather? And it's I'll answer all questions. I'm the guy.
Please send all questions to me. And so you had to do the eulogy.
I didn't.
You didn't?
No.
So what happened?
So
because your mother asked you to.
She had asked me to, but then the day of, they had the pastor. He spoke and said a few words, and then at the funeral, when they were supposed to do it, she ended up just doing a flower ceremony where everyone got to throw flowers,
On the
and no one
grave.
said anything, which is
Wow.
yeah,
So similar to your dad.
yeah. It was just, and
Sorry.
said something about the Knicks. Great team this year.
It would have been a great eulogy if you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
How about those Knicks?
Yeah.
Anybody watch a game last night?
Yeah.
Anyways, I think it's gonna be sunny today.
Yeah. Have a good
Let
one.
me get your mother.
Yeah.
You're like, let me get my mom, and then you leave.
Yeah. No, but then afterwards we did have a dinner where it was, a smaller group, close friends, and we all got to say what we remembered about him, which was nice.
Yeah.
But the day of the funeral, we didn't. No one, because also with my family, there's always drama. Like we're not talking to so and so, and they were there, and like so it was just a whole thing.
I love interfamily drama.
Oh yeah.
I love like all the little details of like, oh, she's such a whore. Did you hear what happened? It's like
Yeah.
it's like that's Aunt Joan.
Yeah, can you
Like,
believe she's here? I was like, it's a
Jesus.
funeral. Yeah, I
It's
can.
a funeral. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
At my dad's funeral, I have like so many crazy cousins, as we all do. One of my cousins comes up to me and just makes a comment about how I look. I guess I looked a certain way.
Okay.
She was like, just sort of like talking shit about what I was wearing. And I just was like, hey, fuck off.
Right.
Funerals are a great place where you can't get in trouble for being rude if you're the daughter of someone who died. Like
Yeah.
if that's your dad or your loved one, you can like totally
Were you wearing
unleash.
something dark
No,
colors?
she just was like talking shit.
Unless you're wearing a shirt that's like meet the man, the legend.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
It's something ridiculous.
Let's say I had like one of those like Halloween T-shirts where it's just like a bikini.
Yeah.
It's like the shirt is like me on the beach.
Or the I'm with stupid and you're standing by the casket like, hey guys, like what do you know?
Or I'm in my sexy baby costume.
Yeah.
Like I was in a black sweater and pants, and I don't know what it was, but I just was like, fuck you. So it's like
Yeah.
all this quiet, like mourning, people being, respectful of my father who was in this urn, and then through the quiet, you just hear me go, fuck you.
Oh God, I hated the whole funeral process because
Isn't
everybody.
it so stupid?
First of all, everybody wants to give you some kind of like meaningful movie speech,
Fuck.
right? Like I saw the.
They do.
It always does the same. It's always like hand on shoulder. I'm
Yes.
so sorry. Head tilt.
And it's just.
Life is a circle, and you're like, what? Are you giving me your Oscar speech? Get out of here! I don't want it. Just say sorry, move on. That's all. That's all I want.
Life is a circle.
Everyone had a speech ready to go. You could see it. The bullets in the chamber, and they're all ready to just hit you with it.
It really, and it's like this is for you. Like I don't need this.
Yeah.
I don't need your Oscar speech.
Yeah.
And also, I didn't like the receiving line.
Right.
I did not want to be in the receiving line.
No.
I didn't want to. I felt like, I was like, why do we have to do this? Why do we have to stand up here? Why do I need to shake the hand of my dad's childhood friend whom I've never met? And I'm not even
Right.
sure if this guy knows my dad. I think he just wants free cookies.
Right.
I think this guy just wandered in off the fucking streets
Yeah.
and wants some hot coffee and cookies. I don't know this guy.
Yeah.
Why do I have to let him kiss my cheek and tell me some story, some anecdote about the circle of life?
With every end, there's a new beginning. What? Get out of it. Just move it. Beat it. Beat it. I don't want it. Yeah. Head tilt, hand on shoulder. It was always
See, the hand on the shoulder I could take, but the head tilt, you're like, fuck.
like, here it
Here
comes.
we go.
And he practiced that speech. He looked in a mirror that morning, practiced it once in the car. He's like, I got to.
I got it. I got it. I'm gonna Google the famous Roman philosopher Lucius Catius.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, yeah, what did he say in Rocky? I'm gonna throw that in there.
What was it that Tom Hanks said at the end of Castaway?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that in the
throw
line.
that in, yeah.
But I didn't want to be in the line, and I had an argument with my mom. She's like, "Get in the line." I'm like, "Why do I have to be in this line?" She's like, "Cause it's tradition."
Right.
Like, whose tradition?
Right.
And like, her boyfriend at the time, Bob, the gimp that he was, he's in the line. He barely even knew my dad. If Bob can be there, then the whole logic of the line is thrown out the window.
Yeah.
If Gimpy Bob is in line, who wasn't
Gimpy
even
Bob.
related to Dad, I'm not standing in it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't. I didn't want to be forced into these feigned conversations that it's just it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like the funeral process is fucking exhausting.
It's almost all fake because guess what? Guess how many of those people call me to this day
Yeah.
to give me that speech? No
None.
one. They're all
None.
just that day.
That's the interesting thing about death is it really sort of cleans out. It's like spring cleaning for your friend group.
Yeah.
You really realize
They all offer you the same thing. If you need anything. Just
Yeah.
say, all right,
Like
I'm gonna
my
start calling in
dad.
those favors.
Can you bring my dad back?
Yeah.
Do you know a good resurrector in
Yeah.
town?
Do you know how to bring people back from the dead? No? I'm good then.
Do you know how to like maybe communicate? Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just thought of the funniest joke for you. Her premise. Can you imagine if you went to a medium to connect with your dad? What would he even say to you?
Yeah, she's looking at her crystal ball like, is this something about the Knicks? Are they not good this year? That is him.
That would be funny. She's like, I think I have Peter on the line.
Yeah.
He's saying something about a cold front.
Yeah. It's chilly. Oh, okay.
That would be funny. I really think you need to put that into your set. I would just for me.
Yeah.
Just for me. My luck, if I like connected with my dad, it would just be a smell. It just would be a fart smell.
Yeah.
He wouldn't say anything. It would just be like an overwhelming fart cloud that would come into the room.
Either that or the medium would just start getting hit on. He's saying a nice boobs?
Nice joggers?
Joggers? He says, he's asking me what I'm up to. Not even you. Hold on.
Yeah, he just is flirting with the medium.
He said, how
Oh
you
my
doing?
God.
That's weird.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so for our listeners who have gone through who are in the Dead Dads Club, which since I've started sharing stories about my father, there are a lot of people in the Dead Dads Club. So we've talked about it a little bit. What are a few things, maybe tips that you can give to people who are going through either caregiving someone who's passing, somebody who's terminal, or the grief process? What are a couple things that have kept you level-headed that you can sort of just like list off that you think have helped you deal with grieving?
Well, I can't tell everyone to do stand-up.
You can.
Just do stand-up.
But performing, creative.
I would say talking about it, just because I feel like a lot of times we shut down and we section that off. Like, I had the ability to do stand-up and talk about it, but just talking about it in general helps you sort of process what's happening.
Right.
Like, the first couple times I got up on stage trying to talk about it, like, I could feel the tears. Like, never mind, I'm bailing
We
on
talked
this.
about that last time. We're like, okay, I'm not ready.
But once I started talking about it, like, you start finding out, like you said, you're talking about it and you're starting to find other people that are going through it. Because sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm going through this shit
I'm alone.
I'm all alone going through this.
Yep.
But once you start talking about it, somebody guess what? My dad passed too. It's like, oh, cool. So now you don't feel like you're in this alone, and you're talking about it, and you're feeling better because you're processing it.
Yep, and
like
you're connecting.
That's a way of connecting and processing.
Yep.
Yeah. So just talk about it. Like, I'm not saying go to the supermarket and drop it on the lady. How's your day going? Not good. My dad's dying.
That's me.
What?
I've been dealing with.
You want paper or plastic? I don't know.
I'm like, I just can't handle this. And the woman who's massaging me is like, can you please stop crying?
I've got a long line. Can you?
Can we wrap this up?
But yeah, don't shut people down. Like, we have those friends. You try to surround yourself with friends and good people and talk about it.
Yeah,
because it helps.
It's okay to talk about it, and it's okay to cry about it.
It is.
Go ugly cry on the
Even
beach.
guys, go. No one's gonna
go to Hawaii and ugly cry on the beach.
Exactly.
You're amazing, Eric. I'm glad that you came back. I was excited to talk because I knew you would be open to going into the depths of grief and despair and losing your father. Where can my amazing followers find you?
Find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Erik Rivera, ERIK Rivera. And I got a bunch of
HBO.
HBO's coming out November 1st.
The Latino special, right?
A half-hour special coming out November 1st. If you follow me, I'm going to be doing some cool giveaways leading up to it. I know HBO gave me a bunch of gift cards and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you don't have to steal a password. I got one for you.
I got one for you.
I got one for you.
And what about your website?
ErikRivera.com. ErikRivera.com.
Dead Dads Club.
Dead Dads Club.
Love you.
We did it.
Thank you. Dad?
What about those Knicks?
Sharp Tongue Podcast. Beep, beep, beep.